All right, guys. So just checking in today. Just wanted to talk a little bit about pricing properties. So this comes up on two different scenarios for us. One, when we're meeting with sellers. So obviously we got to sit down and have a pricing conversation when we're meeting with sellers. But two, oftentimes too, when we're working with buyers, they want to get some feedback from us on the asking price of the property. Is it high? Is the asking price within reason? What should we be sharing with buyers about the prices too? So I wanted to give you just my thoughts on this. Our industry, we often look at comps, comparable sales. You've probably heard it mentioned. What do the comps tell me? Well, the problem with the comps are yesterday's news. So comps certainly something that we want to look into. We want to share with our sellers. We want to share with our buyers. But remember, you're looking at analytics from yesterday. One of the more powerful analytics I find are looking at analytics that look towards tomorrow, and that's inventory analysis. So sure, you can put your comps together. We can say, Susie Q down the street sold her house for X amount of dollars, and her house was a little bit nicer here, maybe not as nice there, and we can make whatever correlation we want to make with how the price should compare between the two houses. But I would suggest to you to look at a couple things. So one, I want you to go back 6 months. So I want you to take a pinpoint of where this house is. So let's say address is here, and draw like a 3 block radius around it, two to 5 blocks, depending on how rural the area is or urban the area, how dense the properties are. If you go 2 to 3 blocks around that property and look at whatever activity has happened in the last 6 months. So in the last 6 months, you'll have a few things that have happened. You'll have houses that were listed for sale and may still be listed as active listings. You're going to have houses that are under contract. Maybe that's two different ways. It could be pending, so that means it's pending awaiting settlement, or it could be what we call in this marketplace is active with contract, and that just means that sellers are still encouraging showings, but they have accepted a buyer contract on it. It's probably contingent on home inspection or mortgage contingency. So, but that to me is also pending. So that's kind of the two properties. Those two categories to me are the same category. And then the third is closed, properties that have gone to settlement already. So, and I want to get that data from 6 months, because what that's going to tell me now is it's going to tell me how many houses have sold in 6 months. So let's say, for example, we've gone back 6 months and we see that 18 houses have sold. So that's a nice, easy number. 18 houses, that's 3 houses have sold each month on average. Maybe it was 4 the first month, maybe it was 2 the next month, but 18 houses over 6 months. Simple math, 18 divided by 6 is about 3 houses per month are selling. How many are pending now? Usually what you'll find is the pending sales are close to the average, between 1 and 2 months of the average. So if we're averaging 3 sales per month, pendings are usually going to be between 3 and 6, because most of the times you'll find that houses are pending for 30 to 60 days. So that's about 2 months. If you see anything really low, if you see 1 or you see 10 pendings, that might be indicative of a market change. Things may be shifting a little bit, so that might be something to be a little heightened awareness on. But for the most part, you'll probably see, somewhere from 3 to 6. If you're seeing 3 to 6, I'd say stay the course. You're probably trending in the same way, probably trending around 3 houses per month that are settling. So, and then you want to take a look at your active inventory. So how many houses currently are active within that same radius? So let's say in that radius right now we have 12. So there's 12 active houses that are currently looking for buyers. So if we're averaging 3 house sales per month and we have 12 current houses trying to find buyers, That's about a 4 month supply. Again, we're taking 12 and we're dividing it by 3. So that's about 4 months supply. So here's the rub on month supply. Most economists agree that about a 6 month supply is a balanced market. So think of it this way: if you have a pendulum and that pendulum's kind of going back and forth, back and forth. So let's call this a seller's market. Let's call this a buyer's market, where buyers control, what's happening with the prices. Buyers are controlling terms. Sellers are controlling terms. We came out of this seller's market for the last couple of years. We were pretty much over here. That means there was a real low supply. In some markets, we had 1 month worth of inventory, maybe less than a month. I had some markets that we weren't even averaging a month worth of inventory. So that certainly makes sense. The sellers control the inventory. The sellers are making demands. The buyers pretty much are being forced to meet the seller's demands if they are really interested in buying a house. Shifted the other way, I remember working in this business where in certain markets there might have been 20 months worth of inventory. Buyers are in complete control. So the comps from yesterday, the sales from yesterday, aren't a real predictor of tomorrow's market because the buyers have tons of options. They have 20 months worth of supply. They can pick and choose what they want, and they typically pick and choose the houses with the more motivated sellers. So that usually means things are going to start trending downward. So if you have a 4 month supply, like in our scenario where there's 12 active listings and about 3 are selling, that simply means that we're still on this seller's market kind of shift. Where if we're at the pendulum, right in the middle would be that 6 months worth of supply. That would mean the sellers would need to respect the buyers and be balanced, and the buyers would need to respect the sellers. So that's probably more of a flat market. Things aren't going up, things aren't pushing up, things aren't pushing down. When you have a 4 month supply, you're probably pushing up a little bit. You got some upward pressure because you still have some supply shortage. It's not in balance. Until it's at 6 months, that's when it'd be considered balanced. So if you saw 8 months, there'd be some downward pressure. So this is why I really think that we need to be looking at two variables. We need to certainly provide the comparable sales, the houses that have sold in the recent past during that 6 months, let's say, to the seller, with emphasis on what's sold in the last 3 months, because that's going to help set the barometer for pricing. But really, if you want to have a thoughtful conversation with the seller and you want to bring more to the table, which is what we do, we want to over deliver. We want to over deliver in everything we do. The best way to over deliver on pricing is when you talk about inventory analysis and you start telling the seller, hey, look, here's where the comps are, but keep in mind that inventory is light right now. We only have a 4 month worth of supply or a 2 month worth of supply. Maybe you can push those numbers up. Maybe you can be aggressive. Maybe the buyers are going to be paying aggressively compared to what they paid yesterday. And vice versa, you have that opposite. Maybe we have 8, 9 months of supply. We were actually looking at a market the other day where there was a 9 month worth of supply. Hard to believe, coming out of the market that we were in, that we had a market that had a 9 month worth of supply, but it did. Things were really tough there. So in that market, certainly if you're talking to the buyer, you can, or the seller, you can reference the comparable sales that have sold, but you definitely want to let them know, hey, look, right now we got a lot of stuff on the market competing. So buyers are kind of driving the negotiation bus here. So let's just keep that in mind when you get an offer, let's say, and if it's not exactly where you had hoped it would be, might want to give a little extra thought to accepting that offer because, with more supply out there, you might not get another offer that puts you within this one. So keep that in mind. I think it's a much more important variable when I'm pricing my own homes, something that I might have that I might be selling. So certainly something worth sharing with our sellers or buyers. And I've been talking a little bit about the seller side of this fence. That's important, but the buyer side of this fence is important too. So let's say in that same market where there's 4 months worth of supply, sellers asking, say they're asking $300,000 for the house, and $300,000 compared to the comps is within reason. and the buyer's talking about offering 250 because interest rates are up, and they think there should be some concession in the price. This gives you some real dialogue to be able to sit down with that buyer and say, look, we'll write this offer up however you want to write it up, but just keep in mind that not all the sellers have had to get that aggressive on pricing yet. We're still in a seller short supply market. So you're setting the table for them maybe needing to get the answer they want to be a little more aggressive. But of course, we'll write the offer up at 250 and let it play out the way it is. But should it not work out to their favor, or should they lose the property, you can go back and say, see, this is what happens in this inventory light marketplace. Maybe next time we want to be a little more aggressive on price. This way the buyer understands where the market is related to what they want to accomplish. We want to separate the myth from the reality. So the reality of today's market, in many of the markets that we serve, is that it's still a seller's market, maybe not to the extreme that it was previously, but certainly it is. And this is, I'm recording this in July of 2023, so that's where we are now. You may be watching this some other time, and these, supply and demand shifts. So, so does the market, and so does the pressure up or pressure down, or maybe stable. So thanks for tuning in. Look forward to recording more of these videos and keeping a constant flow. Have a great day, guys.